Howdy there, youngins. Silvermongoose here with another episode of My Take. And ever since I found this picture here a couple months ago, I've been wanting to do my view or my take on the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise because I found this picture encapsulated very well how most people view it. And now that Sonic the Hedgehog 4 has been announced, I can use this as an opportunity to talk about that too. So, as a whole, all the Sonic games that I've ever played, from, the Genesis to the Wii, I have a generally positive view. I know most people have a generally negative view, but I have a generally positive view on the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. Now, originally I talked about all the games that I'd ever played, and talked about the ups and downs of each one, and that ended up running closer to 15 or 20 minutes, and nobody's going to want me to talk. Nobody's going to listen to me talk for that long. So, what I'm gonna say about the 2D games, or the Genesis games. The Genesis games generally were pretty good. I didn't really like Sonic and Knuckles. I liked the feature where you could play as Knuckles in other games, but generally I didn't like the game as a whole. And I didn't much care for Sonic the Hedgehog 3. But the rest, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, 3D Blast, I thought were great. And I'm also not going to talk about the little side games like Sonic Spinball or Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine or Sonic Riders or anything like that, because those aren't really Sonic games. That's like, Super Mario Kart isn't really a Mario game, it's a kart game with Mario characters. So, the first 3D game, first 3D true Sonic game, was probably Sonic Adventure. Now, whenever people look at this game, they seem to forget when this game came out. Anyone who really played this game back in the day, back in 1999, keep in mind, back in 1999, they were still making 64 games back then. This game was mind-blowing. Anyone who played this game back in the day, they remember that first level whenever the whale burst out from underneath the dock and tried to get you and you were running away from it. All in all, that game was great. Back in the day, that game was great. If you play it now, no, it's not so great. But back then, it was. And you have to keep that in mind. I think people who, now, because you play the Sonic 2D games and they're more timeless, that people think they're better. And, or that the 2D is the only way it works. For most people. I personally can still play Sonic Adventure, and I still think it's great. It does have its downsides, like the Big the Cat levels. A lot of people didn't like it. But generally, I have very fond memories of Sonic Adventure. And the same with Sonic Adventure 2. Me and my brothers probably clocked in well over 200 hours in this game. And has very memorable music, great level design, and again, some of the levels, like the Knuckles levels, aren't the greatest. But for the most part, I really liked Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, and I think people are just, they're too critical, and they forget at what time those came out as. Those came out on the Dreamcast, people. Those aren't, Wii games or Xbox games or anything. That was the Dreamcast. So back whenever those games came out, they were really, really good. I still like them now, but I can understand how some people wouldn't like certain aspects of those games. You may not like it, but that does not mean it sucks. Okay, so don't go down that road. For the GameCube, I think the only new game that came out, because there was a lot of re-releases, was Sonic Heroes, and I really liked Sonic Heroes. The only problem I had with Sonic Heroes is that every time you switched characters, they would all have their own little annoying catchphrase, and after a while that got pretty annoying. But I thought it was a really cool game. It was a new concept. It had a lot of traditional Sonic ideas in there, and they brought back some of the old characters like the Chaotix, which we haven't seen in years and years, and most people hadn't even seen in a game before, that just knew them from the comic books. So I liked Sonic Heroes. And Shadow the Hedgehog, I'll give that to you. Shadow the Hedgehog is not a good Sonic game. It's more, I think, as a game, completely separate, it's a decent game. They did actually add a lot of things in that game that the franchise needed. Like, for example, whenever Shadow ran towards an edge, he didn't just plummet off the edge. He would grab the edge, so he wouldn't just, fall to his death. And also, if he got hit, he wouldn't lose all his rings. He would just lose, I think, 10 or 20. So they did add some good things in there, but no, it's not a good Sonic game. But it is a decent game as a whole. I'm not going to talk about any of the handheld games like Rush or Advance or anything like that. Sonic and the Secret Rings, a lot of people didn't like this one as well. And I'll give it to you guys, this game it's pretty short. You can beat it probably within 10 or 15 hours. And the controls are wonky, but once you get to know the controls, I thought it was very fun. A lot of fast-paced levels, breakneck turns, and I thought it was really fun. I actually really liked also the customization. Like, for those of you that haven't played, you could like make Sonic better at turning, make him faster, give him boosts, give him like a slide attack. So you could customize him, so even if the controls didn't really fit towards you, you could make a Sonic that would fit and work with you. For example, I never added speed because he was going fast enough. I'd always add things like better controlling and the slide attack. What else? Sonic Unleashed. Now Sonic Unleashed, again, it's not a good game. I'll give you guys that. The Sonic the Hedgehog levels were great. The Werehog levels are not so great. But you have to keep in mind, this game was not made for you. It wasn't made for me. It wasn't made for people our age or older. It was made for kids, and they very readily admitted that. They said Sonic Unleashed was very well received by the kids. There was some talk about the Werehog aspect and the slower pacing and more combat-oriented gameplay, but when we got out and tested this stuff and sat down with the consumers, the kids actually liked that. So this game was made for kids, and you know what? That's okay if a game comes out that's not made for you guys and not made for me, so I think you can just write that one off as not really being for us. And Sonic and the Black Knight I haven't played, so I can't comment on that. Now Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Everyone is freaking out about this because, for those of you that don't know, it's a 2D game again. Now, I'm probably the only person I know of that is not head over heels about this game, and I'll tell you guys why. First off, I don't want to get excited because I have a policy where I don't get excited about games that come out, because that way I can never be disappointed. Especially with the Sonic the Hedgehog series. So I don't end up like this picture here. Now, I don't like the look of this because they were hyping this thing up like no tomorrow, and they still are. And I was expecting, you know, a full-fledged game, and instead they give us this little WiiWare, Xbox Live, PlayStation Network download, so you know it's going to be short right off the bat. And you can only play as Sonic, which some people may say, yeah, you can only play as Sonic, that's the only one we care about. But think about Knuckles, or about Tails, or even the other characters that they could have integrated in there that would be essentially the same as Sonic, but have their own little abilities. If any of you have ever played Sonic Megamix Collection, or Sonic Megamix 1, then you know what I'm talking about, that those characters can be integrated and it can still be very good. And also, from the very short gameplay, I know I'm saying a lot about just like, 10 seconds of gameplay, but it just looked a lot like a souped up, Sonic Advance or something. They were hyping this thing up like it was going to be like a whole game of like the 2D levels in, Sonic Unleashed or something. So to me, this is a big letdown. It just seems like a little thing you'll download and you'll play it and you'll say, yeah, that was kind of fun, it was, retro, but it seems to me like a really big step back. And you might say, yeah, but going forward isn't working, but you have to keep in mind, stepping back is different from going retro. You look at new Super Mario Bros. On the DS or Wii, and you compare it to the old games like Super Mario Bros. 3, and they're very different. Though those games are retro, they are still a step forward. They added 4-player, they added new power-ups, new moves. So that's just, I just think that it's a step back, and I was talking to my brother about this, and he said, well, maybe they have to take a step back before they can take a step forward in the right direction. So maybe. So to me, right now, I'm not really liking the look of it, but what it comes down to is, yes, it could be good. Does it look that way now? Not to me. But if it doesn't please you in the end, don't be disappointed, because seriously guys, You should know better by now. So that's my take on the Sonic games. And this has been Silvermongoosevideos, and remember, classic gaming never gets old.